G'day and welcome to this week's edition of Bulls vs Bears. JT, just the two of us this week.
Just
Very
the two of us.
romantic.
Yes, that's right.
I could replace this microphone with a candle. Kai's off at a wedding. You know, Dave's playing poker. It's just the hard workers here, mate.
That's it.
But mate, obviously been pretty on hold this week. You know how?
Disclaimer first.
Oh, of course. Disclaimer.
And next page on the vodcast.
On the vodcast, yes, of course. Now, obviously, opinions and thoughts only. Make sure you get proper financial advice. It's general advice in nature. Should not be your sole resource when making financial decisions, etc., etc. You can read it up there. So, NBC in the media, mate. The Golden Boy run continues. I actually had I got mocks on Wednesday with Nadine. As a previous gold bear, and I simply just answered, well, that's why we have an investment committee. But it really stung basically. So, but mate, how'd you go on the call early this week?
Okay, so I'll have to admit, on Monday I was actually quite bullish this market, and then as the events have unfolded, I've decided to go, just change my opinion. But basically on Monday. Had David Lane from Ord Minnett had a couple of double buys, and we were mixed opinions on the other one. So Infratrill was one, which is basically infrastructure fund out of New Zealand, which is why it's kind of like flown under the radar. But they have a lot of renewable energy, mainly dams in northern. New Zealand, and Viva Energy was the other double buy as well.
And they've got data centres too, if it's they've got like the government data centres.
That's right. One of the biggest, they had a big rewrite of the value of that CDC. I think it went up to 400 or 4 point something odd billion dollars. So it's quite a big play there, and obviously renewable energy, data centres, that kind of nice mix there.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I had the call today. Some weird questions. Instead of being asked about, BHP on Woodside, we got asked to do like a comparison, basically. And like, which one would you buy? And I'm like, why not do both? But it was on with Dawsey, which was pretty good, but... And as we were just talking about before, we got to Codan, which is the stock that does the metal detectors and stuff. And he goes, which I did quite like. He goes, I hate this stock. And then I went, Fisher and Paykel Health's my bogey stock. Like, it's just nice to see an analyst who doesn't want to be a know-it-all, basically.
Yeah. So funny thing with Codan is that Kai had it on the call, and I was like, I like that stock. Because what happens is it popped up on my radar. Like, I've got that breakout screen. So it broke out. And it just kept, it wasn't exciting, but, it just kept up going.
Oh, it's up 100% this year.
Exactly. But but the way it did it, it's pretty much just like 0.5%.
Yeah.
It just kept doing it in a slow and steady way. And I think what's happened there is that because it has the metal detector business, which is what it's known for, people kind of forget it's actually a defence contractor.
Yeah.
So they've got a radar system, and funny enough, it flew under our radar. So
there you go, boomch.
Exactly. But
speaking of needing radars, Middle East this week. So they're back at it again, round 3,000. But a few got under the Iron Dome, apparently.
Yeah. So
it depends on which media you read. If you want to read the Iranian media, they got heaps under. Israeli media, none. So, pretty difficult to get any sort of real news going there. It is escalating. They've managed to knock off Hamas and a Hezbollah leader this week.
Yeah, so it's not like Israel said, okay, well, tit for tat. They're like, they've gone ahead with that. So the news was today that looks like they've blown up a Hezbollah leader near the airport. So
right.
So that's
just what you want coming into a long weekend in New South Wales. For markets, this is. I feel for the people in the Middle East, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But in terms of markets management, we've got payrolls tonight, just missiles flying and bombs going everywhere in the Middle East, and we've got half the market on holidays on Monday. So It's going to be a world of fun. I was going to take the long weekend, and it appears as though I shall be working on Monday just in case.
Yeah, that was. I didn't realise that the market was open.
Yeah, it's one of those tricky ones because it's only a public holiday here. I don't think it's, and maybe some like Western Australia or ACT.
Oh, okay. So
I think even the ACT.
So not a national holiday, and that's why the exchange is still
not even close. So yeah, I mean we've really sat on our hands this week because there's not much to do because. Well, and then obviously this Middle East thing's kicked off as on top of that as well, which has helped our goal position and helped Woodside. The China one phrase I am sick of this week, the China stimulus bazooka, which I'm just really over. This, you know, there's one person says it, then all of a sudden it's like you've got to now refer to it as that. So I'm refusing. Stimulus is good enough.
Well, we don't have it, but yeah, if you seen the China chart, that's why they.
But they in 1 week went from being the most underperforming stock market in the world
to the best
to the top performing stock market in the world. So it's and they're better on holidays, even better. Like. It's like the Hang Seng just keeps going. So, but yeah, and bazooka's a little bit insensitive with all that's going on in the Middle East. Surely, like how about they've got to come up with something else. But it just goes to show you how much people just cut and paste other people's work in this industry. I've got to say. But,
or the fact that even though the Middle East is heating up. We're over it as well.
Well, yeah.
Well, obviously we don't live there. That's the main reason.
Yeah, I don't know how many bazookas they're using, but yeah. So stock highlights of the week. Look, I was kind of half on the road again for most of this week.
Yep.
Out and about. So you go ahead, mate.
I'll take. So Sigma Healthcare is the big winner of the week. So from what I read into it, they made a few compromises. And it looks like the ACCC are happy with that. So the share price has reacted. I think it's up something like 70% this week.
They must have got Coles and Woolies lawyers in to help out, I reckon.
But either way, like if you look at the share price, it looks like that takeover or merger will go through. And Sigma's trading near $2 now. So I haven't looked at the market cap or things like that. But that's a significant move. Liontown,
I was there for that one. It was early in the week, but
that was Monday morning.
Yeah, I've done like 2,500 Ks in 2 weeks. Actually, probably maybe even 3,000 actually. Far less interesting this week. Just went to our nation's capital, but nothing to report there except for poor fiscal stimulus. Exactly. But they delivered first shipment. It was like 8 or 10% higher than the spot price. They got 28.
No. So they had their first shipment. That's already pre-sold.
Yeah.
I think it was like 12,000 wet tons, and I worked out to be that's worth $9 million.
Yep.
US, and then they had a spot trade of 10,000. And that was about 8 or 10% above spot.
Yeah, okay, right, yeah.
And that's still worth $8 million to them as well. So
they said they had something around the 28,000 tons or whatever.
Exactly. So we'll have to do get the back the envelope calculators out again.
Yeah, that napkin's getting pretty full actually.
Exactly, but yeah, it just shows that obviously the till's starting to open up for Liontown.
Yeah,
that's how mines work. You sink so much at the front end. Once the infrastructure is all built, it's basically a printing machine. And that's why things like BHP are trading at like 6 PE because they've already paid for it up front.
Yeah,
and basically they just
printing it out. So
exactly. And then energy stocks are obviously the beneficiary, or don't want to call it that, but energy stocks jump on the Middle East tensions. So crude oil went from 67 to 74. So that's nearly a 10% move, roughly in that space. And our local stocks, Woodside up 6, Karoon up 5, along with BPT, and Santos up 4 for the week. So that's it. And then last thing is Virgin Australia. So Qatar Airlines have taken a 25% stake in Virgin. So it's private at the moment, but their plan is to relist it and make it go public after that. And on the back of that, Qantas is down maybe about 5% for the week. So that's the
Oh,
local.
yeah, it's good, always good to partner up with someone who can get you some cheap jet fuel.
Exactly. So there you go. That's the local stocks for the week. And onto...
The US stocks, fairly quiet, realistically. Except for, there's you pick in terms of the actual stocks.
Yeah.
But there's some pretty heavy underlying things happening.
So interesting So
the longshoremen.
The longshoremen. I highlighted that earlier in the week, and I thought, man, there's just so many crazy things happening at the moment. So the longshoremen, they wanted a 77% increase in pay.
Yeah.
And they wanted no future automation in the ports going forward.
Which is like, there's wishful thinking, and then there's wishful thinking. So
it depends on So on my Twitter feed, there were lots of videos about the ports in China where it's basically 5 or 6 guys in front of like pretty much remote control screens.
Five times faster and 90% cheaper. So the future that sort of economics is just too compelling. That they're a bit apparent. There's a lot of rumours around the mobs involved in that stronghold and all this sort of stuff, which. It is the US's biggest port, LA, and then obviously Hurricane Helene closed, I think, so out of the top 10 ports, pretty much everything nearly on the East Coast is shut, which that takes out 6. LA was the only one, and then Seattle, Seattle may as well be, it's like Perth is to Australia, they're not going to start shipping there, and I don't think it's got the capacity, so... but they folded, mate. So,
exactly. So So either way, the big boss said, we're back to work, and it looks like I didn't see the actual deal that they took, but basically the strike's over. So
they probably took hardly anything and made it to be non-published, is usually how it goes. Because a 77% increase, I reckon they'd be. They're never going to sign the future automation thing, not in a million years. So I would say they've just gone. How about we give you a little bit of money and promise you some on the exit, because they were threatening a month long. If you go and grab those 4 blokes from China, you could probably get set up in a month, because they work 5 times faster for 10% of the cost.
Exactly.
So, run us through this high purity quartz thing. So,
so this is interesting. So, I was looking through for news in the US, and this one just popped up. It was on. So this is off CNBC. So, an actual markets website, and it said Littletown could halt the semiconductor industry. I'm like, how could it do that? And then I read the article. So high purity quartz is an input into the manufacturing process of silicon chips.
Yeah, right.
And the main source of that is Spruce Pine, North Carolina.
Spruce Pine.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like a golf retreat.
It does. But basically, that's the world. It says here the world's sole source.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it's the world's sole source of high purity quartz, essential for and it's 2 publicly listed companies that own the mines there. They've shut the mines down, and they don't know when they're going to restart.
Yeah, right. So semiconductor. So we've got a sole source of a key ingredient in America getting hit by hurricanes, and we've got a sole source factory of all the bloody chips, the high-end chips in Taiwan.
Yep.
So,
there's a few bottlenecks there.
A few bottlenecks. Jeez,
that's the funny thing, is that this was almost a throwaway article, But I was like, hang on, that's actually quite big news. So that's why I popped it there.
Well, when I posted that, 90% of the world's chips Nvidia's chips, come out of that one factory.
Yeah.
And 100% of their high-end chips come out of that one factory. Everyone's like, shut up on Twitter. And I'm like, okay, whether you agree with me, that is a fact, that is the case. Surely some they don't put the president and the vice president on the same flight, So, but that's what's been happening in commodities, I reckon, over the last 5 years, and is going to continue. why we have this supply gap whack-a-mole, because no one wants to be involved in a forward project where they've got to, like, investors are so impatient. Mm-hmm. That's why no copper mines have been developed.
Yeah.
And now we're like, yeah, it'll be fine. And then it'll be fine until it's not. Like what happened in lithium, like what happened in uranium, like what happened in nickel. So, like, I just can't... People just don't plan anymore. They just assume they're going to get stuff.
That's it. I think we've been... I think the correct word is desensitized.
Yeah.
Like we're just so used to having everything on demand. Like, and obviously, Amazon's made that even worse. Like, everyone just assumes you just click something,
and it'll turn up. Someone will source it. Like,
exactly. So, so we, as the end consumer, you probably will not feel it for a while. But yeah, like obviously that's quite a significant development there.
Are there quartz futures?
No, but I didn't bring up the chart, but there's 2 listed companies in the article.
Yeah, right.
So I would like to actually check that out.
Oh man,
Exactly.
All of a sudden they're on the. They could be on the world stage. Yeah. Microsoft will start pushing FEMA out of the way to get it to start sucking water out of the quartz mine.
Well, if it is that important, like you know that those Mag 7, they do have resources. So.
Well, and they have just a little tiny bit of political sway.
Exactly. So we'll see, but yeah, if it is that significantly important, I'm sure they'll figure out a way to get it out.
Yeah, no, to hell with the people. We need the quartz.
Exactly.
Commodities, obviously. That potentially is the incorrect chart because crude oil was up. So
either way, crude oil should be the biggest spike there. But either way, I'll just run through. So gold made a new high last week and it's just been trading sideways this week. So interesting that even though the Middle East tensions are still heating up, it hasn't reacted, but it hasn't fallen either. Silver, to me, that looks like a really positive chart.
It looks like a breakout, yeah.
Yeah, so
for everyone, that's actually the real chart there. You'll have to check that.
There you go. You might have to zoom in.
You might have to zoom in, but
or just read the PDF.
Yep.
But silver is knocking on the door of, I think, $32.
Yeah, $32.50. You've got to stop in at $32.75 above. So.
So I think once that breaks, and I think it's just a matter of when, that's going to have its run, because what's happening is obviously it's lag gold, but when silver does run, it does.
Yeah, but it usually doesn't do it. I've been long silver personally, just using CFD, and it's been a hard trade. But it had the last week. It's just waking up every morning going, oh right,
So
and it does look like it's going to break, but I was kind of expecting it to not go, like maybe go once we're into the second or third rate cut, and a little bit of the pain had been felt, because usually it does go with the sway of the economy, and then it plays like serious catch up. So from the first rate cut, on average, apparently it rallies about 300% supposedly. But
well, look, it looks like it's ready to go. That's where I see things. So uranium, a quieter week this week for uranium, but looks like spots keeps rising.
Split bought like a whole amount, another $2.5 billion physical as well.
Okay.
So
Sprott.
Sprott Uranium Trust is split. The physical. So they're going to have quite the little stockpile at some stage. Keeps going.
And the thing is, copper's been volatile this week, but I think it's been intraday. Like one thing I've noticed is that like we're seeing big swings, but the overall move is it's just consolidating around just underneath the 460 level.
Yeah, it's around about 60 at the moment. It did get to 80 on Monday on the open, and then it just immediately cratered down to about 50 again. So,
and so the Bitcoin's been disappointing. So the gold, silver store of value is holding in. Crypto not as much. So it's back at 60 again. I don't know. I thought it was looking constructive for a move higher, but it's disappointing this week.
We did say that because look, I think we both wholeheartedly agree it will be a store of value, in the future. Just don't think it's quite mature enough yet, like in terms of an investment category, and that's why we've kind of left it out of bits and pieces. But it will eventually. It'll get there.
I'm sure it'll get there. But I think it needs it's a very sentiment-driven market.
Yeah.
And you'll need to what you want to do is that once it gets unloved, that's when you want to. That's when you get
the crypto bros have been crying all week about how it's not catching up. So.
Exactly. So once they have start dumping positions, that's when there's a chance to actually buy it. And crude oil, like we've talked about crude oil, but that's the best performer of the week. You showed the chart
up 8%. Yep. Excuse for the technical difficulties there, folks, but for the podcast listeners, you probably don't care. But yeah, and then mate, obviously economy and politics. Pretty we'll get to politics in a bit, but because it was the vice presidential debate, which is just a bit of a joke in itself. So we just thought we'd get up the best memes to come out of the week. So my favourite being is a picture of Barack Obama going, "I need a VP dumber than me," and then the next picture down to Joe Biden, "I need a VP dumber than me." Then Kamala, and then but Tim Walsh definitely took the cake this week. It just looked like a human version of Elmer Fudd, just bumbling around. That really does sort of that really does describe the situation, to be honest. Like, he was pretty bad. He said he's made friends with he screwed up and was friends with
I'm friends with school shooters,
and it was school shooters' families, and he just forgot a word, and it's just like, man, your whole job is to not screw that bit up. Like, you're a politician, for God's sake.
Yeah, your job is to talk.
Yeah, exactly. So my favourite headline was Sky News Australia described the debate as between the two as a murder scene, as JD Vance murders, which is pretty hilariously emotive. But look, people were a pretty big fan of JD Vance. You don't win the presidential election.
Yeah.
And initially it was really harsh on Walsh and JD, but then who were the NPA or whatever it is, the
NRA.
No, not the NRA, the National Broadcasting over there, the publicly funded guys. They went through and they fact checked, and apparently it was like he was less than 50%. It was stupid. He just sold so many lies. It was ridiculous. So it's pretty easy to just look confident when you just not even bothering to tell the truth. So him and Trump, God, the conversations they might have, where truth never gets in the way of a good story. But yeah, and
so you're saying they fact checked him and
they fact checked him,
and it was 50-50.
It was pretty bad, and then so that really.
So he's a politician.
Well, yeah, no, it was. I don't know the exact numbers, but basically it went from murder scene to much more balanced media coverage by the end of the week.
Okay, fair enough.
The NPR they're very left wing, kind of like the ABC is here.
Yeah.
And obviously Hurricane Helene as well this week. Virginia, it was Category 4.
Yeah, so
200 dead. So
and the headline that I'm seeing is that FEMA has no money.
But they haven't had money since after the New Orleans.
Yeah,
that was 15 years ago.
Yeah,
wasn't
exactly.
it?
But they have money to send to Ukraine, and that's the basics of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty surprised. That's fairly rich kind of area up that east coast. So
yeah, well, I mean, look, I will admit my Twitter feed. Because some of the things I think it is very right wing.
Yeah.
And they were just talking about there's things like the 82nd Airborne.
Yeah. And they're based there, aren't they? You told me that earlier in the week.
So they're an organisation that are just built to respond to emergencies, based in North Carolina, and haven't been deployed in their own backyard. So
yeah,
I haven't fact checked that, but like things like that. And
well, that's the thing. We're obviously being in markets. We're looking at people who are probably fairly right wing leaning most of the time.
Yeah.
It does tend to give you. That sort of algorithm bias is becoming more and more prevalent. I actually, on my many hours in the car this week, went through it was about the psychology of that sort of thing on an audio book, and it was saying that basically the division between parties and within countries is going to get worse and worse because everyone just drinks specifically their own Kool-Aid now.
Oh, yeah, it's that,
but they also think that, but because it's so targeted at them, they never see, like, they never even get a chance to see the other side.
Yeah.
So,
The thing is, we're in markets, so I always try and balance it out and have a look at the other side of things. But yeah, you're right. There's people, and the term is echo chambers. So you're just there. You listen to the same thing over and over again, and because the algo is driven on engagement, if someone's engaged in something that they like, they're going to give you more.
Well, there's even talking about the Facebook algorithm.
You can't tell the algo, oh, can you just show us something, give us something on the other edge of it. And they're like, no, you want this.
Yeah, the Facebook algorithm was actually phasing out friends' posts who didn't agree with you politically and stuff like that. Like, so it's just, it's almost telling you, you've got to hang out with your own, or that's it. Like, I did have actually a startup idea about from 10 years ago. I'm like, Counterpoint, where you could read an article and then it would be a plugin where it gave you a counterpoint. And then I looked up the stats about how much people love just drinking their own Kool-Aid. It was the worst business idea in history. No one actually cared. They don't want to know the other side of the argument.
No one wants a balanced view.
No one wants a balanced view. Like, and I was just, my jaw dropped. I'm just like, how? Basically, you get on one thing and you just stick to it and hammer it. Like,
well, look, I will admit, since I am a dad, I understand when you make a stand and you have to stick with it.
Yeah. Oh, God. Imagine what it's like in my house.
Exactly. It's because I said so.
Yeah, precisely. So, we're trade of the week. Now, my suggestion this week was, and we've gone with a capital protected gold and silver, but we've spoken about that quite a lot. But my general suggestion for trade of the week this week was no trade, because we've got the Middle East kicking off hard. We're coming into a weekend. Yep. US payrolls is massively key. But I mean, look, instead of discussing the virtues of patience, we've got to remember what business we're in, I suppose. But we never really explained the capital protected gold and silver strategy that we had.
No, this is something that's upcoming.
Oh, it's upcoming. Oh, sorry, my mistake.
This is totally different to the ones we've had before.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay, so I have the floor now. So basically, this is for people who haven't invested in gold and silver, and are worried about losing money.
Yep.
So in this trade, you cannot lose money.
Right.
So basically, you participate in the upside of gold up to 22%.
Yep.
If you get it wrong, you get your money back.
Right. So your opportunity cost is the only cost.
Exactly. But the key is that, I think there's a lot of people starting to see, like, they're like, oh man, I've seen gold have a run. I've seen this smart analyst on Ausbiz just calling gold.
Jonathan Takadena. Yeah.
I've just seen them. Everyone's bullish gold, but if they don't have any participation, how can they do it?
It's hard to buy record highs.
Exactly, but at least this way, the risk is to the downside is minimised.
Yep.
And you still have a decent upside protection there. So,
geez, I have been away for a few days. I didn't know about that one. There you go.
Exactly. So this is I'll be doing a webinar, and I'll be doing a full marketing drive on this next week. But I thought I'd just pop this in so that our listeners can have a preview of what's there. But basically, money back or up 22.
Yeah.
How does that sound on something that we believe in strongly in terms of that's.
It sounds like you're doing a promo for sports bet. Like, to be honest, it's like
it's gold and silver 13 plus.
Yeah. All your money back up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling is ruining your life.
Yeah.
But that's a good one. Jeez, like I said, I feel like I've been away all week, it's been some. But it has was a very opportune time because we just kind of knew that nothing's going to happen into payrolls.
Yep.
I think there'll be a hell of a lot more opinions next week as we get a little bit more certainty. I can't help get the feeling that they're not going to, the BLS is not going to let like a rogue number slip through before the election and influence it. So
what do you think it is? So what's the actual number expected tonight?
I think it's still 130 or 140 or something like that. It's not a big number.
So what? So as I would like to see more volatility. So do we want a big beat or do we want to miss?
I think a miss probably puts in, like, everyone's already expecting rate cuts.
Okay.
Like, and they're now expecting 25 because Powell said they're not going to go hard.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to probably misstep Powell, and a negative, like, I think the first negative number, there's every chance this thing's limit down. Like, which is limit down's like 5% or 4% or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But you know it. But they, like I said, they seem to be kept revising, and it's the most amount of revisions ever in history in the last 18 months. So they've kind of just found a way to fit all the books, basically.
Because they could just report a number, and then 6 months later go, oh.
Which is exactly what they did.
Exactly.
Like 1 million jobs. Over 2 years. But
we're not talking small revisions.
No. This is like, they're ridiculous revisions. But I did see another little Labor statistic where people are holding on to their wage with the low income jobs, like with the. Where basically people leaving their jobs, no one's leaving even their minimum wage jobs at the moment is the lowest percentage that they've been leaving their jobs for a while, which is obviously that would be, I would assume, be second jobs. So, but I sort of dug into it a little bit. The research was pretty, but it definitely was formulated to prove a certain point. Basically that the labour market was weakening. It was, but I mean that kind of does make a little bit of sense. But it was sold as economic data, and got to be careful, folks. Like, seriously, even if the BIS can't get it right, imagine what this guy's trying to do. So
exactly.
We'll know more. I mean, those mining stocks and stuff have started to falter a little bit today.
So it'll be interesting to see how China reacts.
Monday.
Yeah, exactly. So for next week, are you bullish or bearish? October's. I'm worried. I think I'm super bearish, but also not massively concerned in terms of if it goes. It goes significantly. I think you'll have a day or two to get on, and that's usually what we're pretty good at. Is if we'll know. So. We have been doing that trade. We're putting on that sort of short hedge into payrolls, we have,
which look, we had to think about generally, and we're just like, well, if it is getting to the point where the market does look like it's running out of steam a little bit in the US, like it's just up and down half every month, every week, but we'd rather instead of rolling the dice tonight, maybe.
Let's let the market show its hand.
Let the market show its hand, because
we'll jump on.
If it's going to fall, it could easily, with the concentration risk in the US, you can easily buy a short Nasdaq and be 20% in the money in the blink of an eye. So
exactly.
You don't necessarily need to take that risk on the first day.
Yeah, true.
But look, the longer this stays up here, the worse this thing's going to be, in my opinion. So because it was the best. First 9 months in the US stock market since 1996. So
there you go.
But with that slowing economy, we've had Middle East stuff.
Yeah.
Everything's piling on it more and more and more. And these hurricanes and the closing of the port, and the energy costs are going to be going up. There's going to be supply chain issues that could start to push inflation back up. Like it's there's a lot going on. But I've been pretty neutral for a while. I snoozed all the bearish people on my Twitter feed, and they literally came back up like 2 days ago. I snoozed them for a month, and oh my God, it was like the floodgates of negativity opened. I'm like, we're all going to die. It was so bad. Like one of the who was the guy? I sent it through on our little chat. It was some famous bloke.
Some Neymar or some guy.
Neymar, I don't know. He called something right like 30 years ago. I've never heard of him, to be honest.
Yeah, it was just interesting. So this guy sounds super paranoid, but he's in a bunker in Israel. You're like,
he's a doomsdayer. But anyway,
shouldn't you be in a bunker in New Zealand? Not in the Middle East.
Yeah, well, the New Zealand economy needs it at the moment, actually. But there's a lot of negative stuff out there when and I've got to say, snoozing those bits and pieces on Twitter was one of the best things I've done, because I've just been able to just unencumbers you because you just, well, we're going back to what we're talking about, the algorithm, just getting hammered and hammered with these negative things all the time. And it's, I've started to see my feed readjust to being a little bit more balanced. So, zero hedge and game of trades on Twitter. Seriously, if you feel like you're too happy,
and the great Martis.
Oh, no, the great Martis is tongue in cheek. He's been predicting a 40% fall every day or every night forever. And it's a bit of a.
What's the stat? Like, someone's successfully called 10 out of the last 2 recessions or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's his byline, isn't it? Yeah. So he's a bit more tongue in cheek, but those two are like they can find a you wouldn't be buying or selling stocks. You'd just be going straight to Costco and buying fresh water and tinned food if you listen to these guys. So yeah, but CNN Fear and Greed is 68, and it was 72 last week. So we're still
a little bit more cautious this week.
Yeah, but on the borderline of extreme greed. And there wasn't really a lot of still a little bit conflicting with the data. And Kramer of the week obviously goes to Tim Waltz for saying that he's friends with school shooters. And possibly Kamala Harris for choosing him in the first place. So, that's 31 days to go, people. And then I promise we'll try not to speak about it anymore because it is...
Yeah, but interesting that after the debate, the odds have evened out. So Kamala was favourite before the debate. After that, it's evened out now. So, yeah.
Well, the Trump supporters were liking JD Vance more than Trump almost.
Well, that's what you should be doing, getting someone that will appeal to more people. Yeah.
Yeah. So and again, is not going to pull you up on the truth, which apparently statistically he's done pretty well doing that part. So sure. Obviously, a bit of a short one this week, and because we're going to know a hell of a lot more, come early next week.
Yeah. So next week should be a little bit more action-packed, I think.
Yeah, a little bit more.
At least, hopefully, the market gets more direction bias, and then that gives us an opportunity to make some money, basically.
The worst nightmare would be just in line, and we've got to wait another month.
But then we do have US earnings start next Friday as well.
Yes, we do.
So the banks start
Friday week, or next week.
Yeah, so that's.
That reminds me, that chart that came out, there was 2.6 billion liquidity to an unnamed source from the Fed.
There you go.
As well, which is basically that's a bank bailout, and I'm assuming they're not publishing the name on the basis of the fact that they don't want to run on the bank or whatever. I don't really know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there hasn't been a request for liquidity for 9 months, and the chart literally just goes vertical to 2.6 billion. So someone's needed a little bit of a bridging loan. Someone who provides loans needs a bridging loan.
Or someone got margin call.
Well, possibly, yeah. So the US banks are carrying a lot of unrealised losses at the moment.
Oh, that's right, because they had that bank term funding program where they could mark to market their bond losses. Or just neutralise their bond losses.
Yes, but that's going to have to come home to roost at some juncture. I would have thought. But yeah, so thanks for listening, folks. We'll have some more definitive action for you next week, and stay safe out there in markets, and we'll speak next week.
Thanks a lot.